Alright guys, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne qualifiers for the Asian region. My name is Kyle Aris here at ESL TV, and I didn't exactly want to jump back into another PvZ, but that is what we have on the table. In other stages of the bracket, SOS did defeat Rain already and moves on 2-0, so he is one victory away, awaiting the winner of this series to find out who advances on. So we'll probably follow the winner of this on to play against SOS and find out who the first is. Alright, so we are going to get into game number 1 here in just a second for Frost. And again, it's Classic versus Curious. Curious is a Zerg player who just does not die to earlier pressures and earlier aggression. So if Classic tries to do something like that, I think Curious will just shut it down straight, flat out. But by that token, we could see some big macro games here from both of these players. And Curious, as I said, he never disappoints in Intel Extreme Masters qualifiers. So let's jump straight on in to game number 1, guys, as we have spawning down to, up to the top right-hand corner here as our teal Protoss. Once again, it is SK Telecom T1 Classic, and they all like teal and blue. What is this? Every single series we're casting teal and blue. Oh, actually, and wait, Pig was red. Anyway, and up to the top left-hand corner, we have Mr. Startail Curious. Impressive finishes in the past during these qualifiers, and then seizing himself a top spot finish at the Intel Extreme Masters New York, only falling to his teammate Life in the end in a pretty action-packed ZVZ, but then Life went on to win the entire thing. So you can't really fault Curious. He could have quite easily gone on to win the whole thing as well if it weren't for Life. So that really does show you the level of player that we're talking about when it comes to Curious. But then we have Classic, a guy that monstered through the qualifiers yesterday and is now looking to monster through this one as well. The player that stands in their way next round, SOS. Either of these players going up against the previous BlizzCon champion, the previous WCS Global champion. That is going to be a cool series. We're going to follow one of these players into that series to find out who is the first player advancing on to Cologne. So either Classic, Curious, or SOS will definitely be there. And Classic looks for an Overlord down to the south, does not spot it. A little bit of a shame there for him. He knows that oftentimes, I think more so than not, Zergs will always send their first Overlord vertical on this map, and he's always looking out for that. Alright, Gateway goes down for Classic. So playing a pretty greedy style, once again, Nexus into Gateway in the back, and well, Curious, in turn, also playing quite greedy. Realizing that his opponent isn't down to the southern position, he knows that it's expanding to this location is pretty safe if his opponent's going to be over in the top right, which he hasn't spotted just yet, or in the... Ooh, wait, actually, I think he may have just seen that Overlord very briefly. Yes, he did. So that gives him full confirmation of where his opponent is. But yeah, I mean, this hatchery, be it him spawning up in the top right or spawning cross positions, it's not a huge deal. Whereas taking base down there, if you'd have noticed he was spawning in this location, would have been a bit tricky. Alrighty, so Classic now had a good look around, a good look-see, and realizes that spawning pool's a little bit late, so he will poke on forwards and see that third base in a timely fashion. We've cast a lot of PvZ already, but the two series have been wildly different. Classic versus Jaedong was phenomenal. Classic versus Pig was a little bit quick, unfortunately there for Pig. Hard to stand toe-to-toe with a player like Classic, who some people do consider to be one of the best Protoss right now. I'm looking at you, Major. I don't know if he's listening. Probably not. He's probably asleep. But yeah. But I mean, he certainly stands as one of them. He's such a strong Protoss player, and everything he does, it's not gimmicky. I mean, like there was a cannon rush against Pig, yeah, sure, but like he doesn't try and hide a Stargate and try and catch his opponent off guard. He doesn't care. He just uses it as part of the wall off. He utilizes it and moves on. And it's a really, ooh, micro. Oh, Mothership Core, you legend. That was like, that probe was running away in slow motion and 2 shots fired down from the heavens, killing off those 2 little Zerglings to save the probe's life. But now 2 Zerglings are going to try and maybe find that probe. That's the point of weakness here, if you can try and get to it. But doesn't find a way. So the Mothership retains a 4-kill position, whilst we have Classic now going to work on an Overlord. Behind this though, Robo Facility has been started. Phoenix production continues, and this Robo is more than likely to be used to establish himself a 3rd base, unless for some reason he goes super trigger happy with gateways, but that is not going to be the case. Adds on the Forge, guaranteed to see that 3rd base now come along here for Classic. The Spore Crawlers have already started up here everywhere for Curious. So unit counts right now, 45 workers to 44. Expecting to see big flurries of drones very soon here for Curious. And I'm not 100% sure how he's going to make these Zerglings really do anything. Classic seems to have it firm in his mind that Time Warp on these mineral lines is worth the investment. Of the energy at least. He knows that he won't have to use it for photon overcharge anyway, like, so may as well make use of the energy somewhere. These Lings, their job is going to be trying to deny the 3rd base from going down just a little bit quicker than Curious would like it to see it. And we have now the Robo Bay being added on, as well as that +1 started here for Classic. So very, very calm, very patient game here so far from Classic. Who's looking to try and find little openings with these Phoenix. Killed off 6 workers so far, so making good use of these. And there is now the 3rd base about to be landed here for Classic, whilst drones get fought off. And did he get another one? Okay, so he got 2 more. That Spore Crawler finishing up next to those extractors is very, very important. But the Lings really can't do too much. Curious, interestingly enough, is actually going for a Roach Hydra composition. Oh, wait a minute, did he... Okay, so it's a Ling Hydra composition. I overstepped the mark there a little bit with the Roach call, because I don't even think he got a Roach Warren now that I think about it. No, he did not. So, Ling Hydra here, to transition on to further tech choices. I do like the Ling Hydra comp. It's very, very versatile. Can deal with a multitude of gateway force compositions, as well as airborne Skytoss compositions. For example, the multiple Void Ray counts. But you've always got to be careful about Void Rays being well positioned when it comes to force fields. Because regardless of how many Hydralisks you have, even if your opponent has good force fields and say like 8 Void Rays or something like that. I know this isn't happening right now, I'm just hypothesizing. But the force fields can really hold you back. And I feel, you know, more so than not, it's probably what the Infestation Pit's going to be for here. It's in case he notices that his opponent's going for some kind of more airborne strategy. But I'm pretty sure that that Colossus just got spotted by a Ling or 2. Regardless, we'll see in just a second. But of course that allows him to transition on to the Hive, get some Vipers out pretty quickly here. That's normally what choice we see Curious avidly plowing forwards for. So he may do that again. And he has added on the Roach Warren now. Whoa! Alright, wasn't actually expecting this of Curious to go for Enduring Locusts. But it's going to be Swarm Hosts. And I've seen a few people, as of late, express a bit of distaste for this style in this matchup. But it's one of the strongest styles to use in this matchup. regardless of what you think of swarm hosts and regardless of how you feel about using them, it's one of the strongest styles, and it does work. Even Stefano still plays, and after looking at the length of his games in his match history, I'm pretty sure all he does is play swarm hosts in this matchup, and probably still wins a lot of games. So, nice push away there for a second by those Hydras, but 17 worker kills between these Phoenix is a phenomenal feat here by Classic. That being said, though, it hasn't really slowed down Curious too much. He's still at 79 workers, and now Locusts have been revealed, and thus so have Swarm Hosts. Guys, there isn't smoke without fire. Just pointing that out. Alright, so the Spire now on the way as well here, so that he can build his ultimate composition, which is likely to be Swarm Host, Corruptor, Infestor, maybe even a Broodlord or two, but realistically it can be all too easy to transition against Broodlords in this matchup. So there's the Corruptors being added on. Hydralisks and Zerglings decide, well, Hydralisk trying to keep up with Zerglings for one. It's not too bad with Muscular Augments, and they will actually find a way on in. He's actually going to trade really, really well against this. He forces a recall home with a little bit of his army, so should be able to clean all of those up. And doesn't lose too many workers at all. At the same time, trying to push on against that third base here, or fourth base, I should say. And the Hydralisk will end up dying. Meanwhile, the push continues over at this fourth. A nice little split up of units here for Classic, but he has to be careful about keeping some of these units alive. The Warp Prism is a sacrificial lamb for those Corruptors. But during all of that, the Colossus did get away. So, if I had to trade a Warp Prism for a Colossus dying, I would do so. I would gladly do so. I would say, here is my Warp Prism. I present it to you. And now, Curious looks to move into assault mode. But I'm not too sure how much this is going to get done. The only thing this is really going to do is draw Classic back. Nice blink to kill off a Creep Tumor. Did I really just say that? Ignore that. But Curious, sending a few Locusts down to this position, kills some workers off where he can. Curious is actually maxed out here. But I'm not too sure he can make anything happen with this max out. He's got 13... Alright, so his overall unit composition is pretty strong, but that many Stalkers here with these Colossi, unless he has Locusts in the army that trade away for like one Stalker. You know, in this situation, in this position here, as he blinks forwards and actually tries to catch some of these Swarm Hosts, wait a minute, hold the phone. He actually catches quite a few of them there, but the Corruptor's doing some work on these Colossi, also killing off the Void Rays very quickly so they can actually get to the Colossi. The work that I mentioned before was pretty much just the corruption there for a second. But yeah, so I actually feel that the trade there of a wave of Locusts for one Stalker probably isn't worth it that much, because think about it. Think about the way we see a Classic setup. He's getting his fourth base up. He's going to have a lot of room to replenish Stalker numbers very, very speedily. And the amount of supply that those Swarm Hosts take up there detracts and takes away from the supply that we see of these Roaches and Hydras, which can't really hold this many Stalkers and Colossi at bay. So it's not the most amazing of trades, despite it for being for free in inverted commas. You've got to think about the knock-on effects here in StarCraft. And, you know, that blink forwards, grabbing himself 2 Corruptors, not too bad there from Classic. Curious, though, still super, super formidable, looking for more bases, looking to play this game out long-term. Getting the greater Spire as well, so he is going to go up to a similar composition that we were mentioning previously. Nice focus fire there on that Corruptor that does end up falling down, but now the Locusts are trying to find themselves an ulterior route here, but they're sending themselves a very long way around, and pop. Unfortunately for those little guys, they do end up dissolving into thin air. So now that's a lot of Swarm Hosts. They're going to do some work here for Curious. Classic did a good job previously, though, of being able to get on top of those and push some of them away. And we now have that Greater Spire about to finish up a straight blink on some of those roaches so that they cannot escape. And, well, this engagement is going to happen in just a second. Classic does see the entirety of the Swarm Host positioning, though, with his army, with that Observer. And Classic's also maxed out. He loves this huge Stalker numbers. And it's really, really fun to watch, especially if his Blink Micro's on point. It's like Daddy Stalkers and Baby Stalkers, because the Colossi are just big Daddy Stalkers, if you look at them. So anyway. Classic has to deal with this, actually. This should be able to draw him back, because those Hydralisks could kill a little bit of the production facilities here. There's a Stargate as well as the Fleet Beacon being added on, thanks to him spotting? He didn't spot the Greater Spire, but he's anticipating the transition very, very well. So he should be able to deal with that. Stalkers position themselves to greet this army as he brings the Colossi down to just clean up Hydralisks. So really, really phenomenal foresight here by Classic to deal with that. But he didn't plan for everything, and those roaches try and poke in. And in the end, actually, Classic does plan for everything because he has 3 cannons there to be able to push that away. But the Stalkers go for the blink attack over at the 4th base. The army is a little bit out of position here for Curious. Locust should be able to deter that from doing too much, but he gets the expansion and just blinks straight away. Really strong moves here by Classic, who continues to make it work. And this base down to the south here for Curious hasn't done a damn thing. He really needs to get those gas geysers up and running. But the thing is that he now has Broodlords on the field. Technically there is Storm here, but has to move on away from this. That's a lot of AoE firepower there we're seeing from Classic. These probes are deciding to suicide, I think, actually, because he needs room out for the Tempests that he wants to get. And he's got 77 workers, so there's not really too much need to have much more than that. But now, this is panic mode. This is danger days, because Classic has been forced into a really obscure position where the Swarm Hosts and Broodlords can start laying waste to this fully fledged mining base, and the 2 Tempests that are on the way have to get out very, very soon, otherwise there's going to be a problem. A big, big problem. But the Blink Stalkers are looking for an opportunity to find the fight. Although the Colossi certainly didn't really walk into the most favorable of positions. Meanwhile, Hydralisks and Roaches laying waste to this 3rd base. A few units being warped in, but Classic now finds himself a little bit stuck. So he's going to have to walk around. He's basically playing this in a very, very similar way to where he did Altrazine Stronghold against Jadon. He's walking the long way around, trying to circumnavigate these Swarm Hosts and Broodlords, and trying to do damage to his opponent's mining bases. But interestingly enough, Classic's, I mean, this base didn't do anything during all of that. So Classic didn't really make that base pay for itself. And you can only run around this army for so long as plenty of Locusts, Hydralisks, etc. Really doing a lot of damage there. But now the Tempests move into the fray. 4 Tempests here without any anti-air. Gonna really start killing off these Broodlords, as they will one-shot volley them. And even the blink forwards, if he wants to kill off more of them very, very quickly. Is he gonna go for it? The Tempests are still working away at these. Storm lands on some of the Swarm Hosts as well. This is the perfect engagement here for Classic to make work. And he blinks forwards and kills these off as well. The Broodlords and Swarm Hosts, they didn't have anything to buffer for them. And Classic absolutely demolishes this army. That really turned from good to bad in so quickly there for Curious. GG. But all the while, I mean, he was pretty starved out at his bases as well. You got to remember, as we said before, that 5th base didn't really do anything. Down to the south there, Fort Classic. And now we need to bring it to me, as our lovely, lovely games are going to be on the way in just a little bit here for the Intel Extreme Masters. There I am. Yeah, we caught you. Okay, so game number 2 is going to be on Polar Night. Yeah, as Classic takes that 1-0 lead. Curious overextends there and gets his very immobile army caught in a bad spot. not the best of positions. He did kill a lot of probes during that during the end, but Classic's too good in this match. All right, so I say good luck to the players. Let's see if we have any updates in the bracket. Whilst we are waiting, let's just quickly refresh that. They're going to start in a second. So SOS is just waiting for Curious or Classic. Meanwhile, down in the lower bracket, Cure defeated Maru in a TVT. So that's a big deal. And then that's really the only result we have there. So once we have this series done and then we go on to SOS versus the winner of this series, we shall then move down to the lower bracket and follow that through as well for a lot of the day. But it's been a lot of fun. All right, so also guys, just before we get into this game, you can still win this lovely t-shirt signed by the top 8 from the WCS Season 1 of Europe, signed by people like MVP, Stefano, Lucifron, etc. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/ESLTV and like the page, as well as find the little picture of me holding the shirt. Just leave a comment there if you want to win the shirt, and our lovely people here at ESL will send that off to you. We already have about 76 entries or something like that last time I checked. So a pretty good shot of winning a very, very cool Heart of the Swarm shirt signed by the top 8 from WCS Premier Season 1 of Europe. All right, so we are going to jump into game number 2. Classic currently leads 1-0. Polar Night is our map. And for some reason, the players are like stuck on the very edge of loading up. So hopefully they shall start in a sec. But already it's been a phenomenal day of games. I've really enjoyed casting all of these PVZs. I was going to say I've enjoyed casting the Intel Extreme Masters Qualifier, but it's just been PVZs for now, so I'm just going to stick with that. But if Classic's able to take this game, then we will jump into Classic versus SOS to see who moves on to Cologne, and that will be a PvP. SOS already dispatched of Rain very quickly 2-0, so we could see SOS in Cologne. I wouldn't have a problem with this, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't have a problem with this. But I'm under the impression that somebody is disconnected from this lobby because they're not loading. So, oh, okay, no, nobody disconnected. Oh well. Let's jump into game at number 2 as we have spawning down to the south. Currently 1 game up in this best of 3. It is Classic. And up to the north, we have our blue Zerg, who oftentimes in PvZ, we've seen go for 10 pulls pretty often in best of 3 situations. And he's curious, but I don't know whether or not he's going to do it this game. Well, seemingly not. But we do, he likes to mix it up in this matchup. In previous Intel Extreme Masters qualifiers, we've seen him play a lot against people like Parting and other very, very strong Protoss players from the Korean scene. And he almost always brought a different build to every single game. And that's one of the really cool things about Curious, that he's extremely versatile and can play almost any style. And I guess, in the grand scheme of things, that's why he does very, very well. When it comes to these online cups, he just brings different games time and time again, and does pretty good. Alrighty, so let's see what he's going to bring to game number 2. Now, he is 1 down against Classic, so he has to play pretty cautiously in general. There's going to be that hatchery on the way here. And aside from that, having a little bit of a look around, making sure Classic's not going to cannon rush him. There are potential opportunities for cannon rushes on this map with good pylon placement. So you do have to be careful about that as a Zerg player. 2 pylons is no longer available to block off any positions behind these mineral lines, but 3 pylons is certainly a threat. So you have to be very wary. And Curious stuck around as well at the very front, just to make sure there was no probe trying to sneak in or anything like that. Curious sees now the first probe moving out, as well as the pylon and the Nexus. So Curious is well in the know about what his opponent is up to. But once again, Classic plays it pretty greedy. Goes for the gateway hit off the back of that into double gases. So he's going to have the opportunity to tech up and play this game out quite nicely. Now, there is opportunity here for Classic to go for gateway aggression and then into two-base play on a map like Polar Night is very, very common. But against Curious, I would advise against it. We can imagine if it would happen. I would even be willing to bet, not money, because I don't bet on money on things that I can't control, because that's a little bit odd. But I'd be willing to bet that he would hold it off if some two-base play came along. He's so strong against it. He sets himself up so well. But for now, there's actually quite a lot of Lings in production here to try and pressure this Nexus. Speed is a long way away, so if Classic is manages to get his Mothership Core over here, there's not really a whole lot that this can do. Although it's just Lings, he's just producing Lings. So actually we could get to a point here where he just can't produce, he just can't kill the Lings fast enough. He's trying to wall off desperately, but the Lings realize that and shuts him out. There's just Lings in production, guys. He's trying to get these gateways down where he can. He knows he has a sentry out very, very soon. If he can bring that down and force field off, that would be great, but speed is about to finish as well. It's 8 seconds away. The sentry gets in position. He can throw down the force field. He needs to throw down the choke, but at the same time, the Zergling's trying to pressure it. And, oh, that's not going to help. There's so many more Lings on the way. He needs to, he should have used that one force field to seal out the extra Lings that are coming, but he can't have known that because he just doesn't have vision on the map. This Mothership Core is doing a lot of work. He's got 12 kills in total. Only 5 Lings are left in, but the Lings that are already in realize that it's important to bring down that pylon. He needs to wall off even more, but he walls off that small section and another force field and a pylon behind the mineral line. Oh my god, what a defense here by Classic so far. Considering he didn't know that all of this was on the way, he needs more force fields, he needs pylons, and another force field and pylon. Wow. And let me tell you that despite getting 10 workers during this, that was a massive, massive committal of lava. Massive, and he's still going. Oh my god. What a defense. I mean, it could have been made a little bit easier by that initial sentry having the force field in this choke, but the crisis management that we see come out from Classic here, great play. Really, really great play. Yeah, goosebumps. Anyway, now Curious has to resign himself to the fact that, well, I guess my opponent's just going to have more economy than me for a while, so I'm going to have to get myself a third base behind all of this. We do have 3 extra gateways being added on. So he's going up to a total of 6 right now. There's no tech been thrown down. This is only the first gas over at this expansion. But the interesting thing during all of this is that Curious isn't actually sending overlords into the bases. The one thing that he does have in terms of intelligence is that these Zerglings are situated over at the 3rd, and those can say, hey, you don't have a 3rd base. But there's all the while, because those Lings were so active about focus fire down the middle of the map, straight to his opponent's natural, this pylon and this probe more importantly, has been undetected for the whole game. And he doesn't see the sentry move out. He doesn't see the sentry move out. His overlord was just shy of the positioning. Oh, he doesn't see any of this. Oh, this is... And he's walled off at the front as well. So one thing that he doesn't have is a forge, so he can't actually throw down any cannons here for the defense. Once he realizes what is coming along, I mean, he sees the pylon now, but that is so many sentries. The Roach Warren isn't finished. He's only going to have Zerglings for now. He realizes that the 3rd isn't really going to be an issue at this point. All he has to do is get into a good position against those Zerglings, and he chokes off a lot of them. And there you go, GG Classic takes the series 2-0. What a hold. What a hold. What a hold in game number 2. As he now advances on to play against SOS. And Classic's gonna think I'm a stalker because I keep saying, invite me to the next game, please. And he's like, okay. And all right. So guys, we are gonna take a short break here at the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne qualifiers. And then when we're back, we're gonna have Classic versus SOS to find out who advances on to the main tournament itself.